Oh, and we're live. Welcome to Earful of Dirt. And I'm Aaron Castro, one of your hosts. We're the Major League Rugby podcast. I'm out of Mesa, Arizona, joined by Victor Perez, Dan Brown, out of New York City, New York, Josh Fredland in Denver. How's it going tonight?
Good.
Yeah.
Hello, dear listeners. Welcome to Earful of Dirt. I'm well. I'm ready for another round of action.
Oh, gosh.
I don't know why everyone's laughing.
All right.
I'm not sure why everyone's laughing.
Meanwhile, our producer, Corey Munson, is in Iowa. He's hanging out in the comments section. He's on Twitter. Hashtag EODpod. Hit him up for questions and comments. For those new to the podcast, each Monday night we discuss news and rumors from Major League Rugby, the United States Professional Rugby Union competition. It's a chance to discuss the issues, hear from the league and team leadership, and check in with our friends from across the U.S. rugby scene. Please give us a 5-star review, and you'll get a shout-out, perhaps some merch, when this thing picks up speed. And this week, we've got Dan.
So this week we have me, yes. This week, more importantly, the rundown we got going on. Houston defeats James Bay. We give our ARC preview and talk some San Diego Legion, which finally came out with some big news. With all that said, let's get down to it. What do you say, James Bay?
James Bay Athletic Association versus the Houston SaberCats. Full time, 42-13, SaberCats. So James Bay brought a team of giants to bear against the SaberCats. Not a man under 6 foot. James Bay was a team with a lot of representative side players in the CRC. And, you know, they were even missing all their national team guys. So some more experience. Unlike the experience that University of British Columbia Old Boys brought, we've seen rapid learning and improvements from the SaberCats. A bit banged up in the front row and the back three, it didn't seem to matter. You saw a shift in the back line with Osea Kalinisau moving to open side wing. That proved to be pretty dangerous. James Bay kept it close early, but in the second half, it opened up and the boys up front and a prop try with Kenneth Hepburn. Victor, offload to you, man.
Awesome. So as past games, the SaberCats put the tempo, but penalties derailed a perfect game, in my opinion. And of course, the wet terrain did not make things easier for ball handling and kicking. Now, James Bay, had several opportunities to score with all the penalties offered by Houston, but the physicality of the home side in scrum and lineout proved to be the factors of a winning score. Also, shout outs real quick to the last try, which was by Carl Assumption, the captain, which he kicked ahead and picked up the ball to score, which is not something very common amongst forwards, especially for the fact that he's a huge lock on top of that. Keep in mind, guys, that this upcoming Saturday, the SaberCats play against the Capital Selects, and after their match against the Northern Gold, where they lost to a score of 68-15, I'm definitely putting my trust on Houston to do something very similar to that.
So, you know, they're going to hit the Capital Selects. I think they're going to hit them hard. I think you're going to see a lot of guys get rest. I think you're going to see guys that haven't played at all even get starts. You know why? Because you have to evaluate players. I heard it from Ryan Fitzgerald. They had 42 guys in camp. So that means there's like 7 guys in NOLA camp that, because they're only pushing their training squad to 35, that are going to get cut. So I don't know if it's like that for the SaberCats, but you still have to evaluate players against live competition.
And by the way, I believe someone mentioned that it's Military Appreciation Night that Saturday, right, Josh?
Yeah, it's Military Appreciation Night.
That'll be fun. So, all you veterans, get out. It'll be an awesome night. Watch some rugby.
Mm-hmm.
And moving on to the America's Rugby Championship. Well, guys, apparently we're late because, Canada played Uruguay, and because of World Cup qualifiers, last week was the start of the ARC.
Mm-hmm. Yes, it
Victor.
was. Cool. Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you were going to mention something more. That's why I was a little quiet for that. Well, guys, speaking a bit of the America's Rugby Championship, and specifically of the Eagle squad, I have high expectations for this year's Eagles playing at home against Argentina 15s this upcoming Saturday, playing in the StubHub Center in Los Angeles. But that specter of the Argentina 15s still lingers as these players play against each other and with each other quite often. So they, of course, they know each other quite well in comparison to the Eagle squad, which comes in and practices for about a week. Now, speaking of which, they actually had a match against the Jaguares, which is the Super Rugby franchise, in case you don't know them by name. They lost that match 31-12, but of course that's a great experience going into the match, which definitely will help them play against the Eagles in Los Angeles. Now, I'm still going to give the nod, obviously, to the Eagles as a fan myself, but we'll see what happens. Also, as you know, Canada is going to be playing Uruguay in the second round for the qualifiers of the 2019 Rugby World Cup, and they're playing in Montevideo in the famous Estadio Charrua, or the Charrua Stadium. Now, Canada is suffering lately with all the injuries of their top overseas players, and that has caused them, obviously, a loss to Uruguay, 38-29. And by the way, Uruguay is a team that's on an upward trajectory. And that is a team that's very similar to Argentina 15 in that the players again know each other and all play in the country, of course. It's possible for Canada to win the match in Montevideo, but it won't be easy. And then finally, the other match in the America's Rugby Championship is going to be Chile versus Brazil. That's going to be in Santiago, in the capital. And Chile comes into its third year in the ARC with several players from their under-20s program, plus a couple of players based in Europe, as well as Nikola Bersic, that plays in Ola Gold. And the team had a match in November, in the November season, just one against the Germany side that was made up of second and third choice players, since the main team actually boycotted the union, and that led to a 30-10 victory for the Chileans. But in all honesty, I think it's going to be another dead rubber year for Chile, as they lost another head coach in Frenchman Bernard. Aaron, please help me out with that last name. Chadier?
Let me look.
Career is what I'm going to say.
Yeah, because you know how my friends say Chadier?
Chadier?
Charles.
There you go. Merci beaucoup. Of course. And by the way, Mr. Bernard, I just can't call him Bernard, complained about not being able to implement his game plan with the team. And their previous coach, by the way, New Zealander Paul Healy, complained about the same thing, as well as the union itself. Now, like I said, the match is going to be in Santiago, and with the home advantage, that can be the difference between winning and losing. Now, speaking of Brazil, they're pretty much about to take the third place of Chile in South America as a whole. And they're coming from a somewhat successful November season where they played and defeated Belgium, a very tight score for the score, actually. But they lost to Spain, and they lost to the original Germany team, unlike Chile. I'm sure if Brazil would have played the same Chileans, the same Argentinians, the same German side, I'm sure they would have won. Now, the roster for the ARC for Brazil should be similar to the one for November, since all the players are pretty much concentrated mostly in the south of the country. So I give my nod to Brazil on that.
That was some deep looking into some South American rugby there. Bring it back to North America. Just kind of, sharing your sentiment. I'm feeling really confident about this ARC squad. Even just doing a quick run through, I think there are at least 17 Eagles who are playing in the MLR right now. This is including a lot of longtime players, but it's also including a lot of, or at least a couple of players like Paul Lusike, who's in Utah, who kind of got fast tracked back up to the Eagles camp. There may be some more coming in the future, but that's great to hear there. Last year we won the entire ARC, but we tied Argentina at the very last second to end up winning by bonus points. So this year, I honestly think that we will beat Argentina probably only by one score. It will be a close match, at least in my opinion. We're gonna take the. That's my predictions there. But as for as Victor kind of touched a bit on Canada, Canada lost to Uruguay, which trying to find the right words for this, but it really sucks for Canada. They lost by 9. Was it by 9?
9 points, yeah.
Mm-hmm,
And they had 3 MLR players on their squad, but since I actually don't know any Canadians, I really don't know any Canadians that follow rugby. Based off of the internet, I haven't seen a single Canadian rugby fan that looks like that they feel like they have a realistic chance of actually going down to Montevideo and beating Uruguay. So, so it's looking like Canada. Sorry, looking like Canada is going to have to go through the repechage.
There you go.
Going through that thing. From my quick look, it's likely going to be Canada. I think Hong Kong is one of them. I think an African team is on there too, so probably like Kenya, whoever wins the African Cup. And then Europe 1 or Europe 2 would be like Spain or Germany or something like that. So probably Spain.
Romania.
The Romania's already in it.
No, not yet. Georgia.
No, Romania's
in it.
Romania's in.
No, not yet.
Yes, they
No,
are.
Romania's not in. Not yet.
I made
Romania doesn't.
made
No,
list.
so let me pull this up.
Yeah, pull it up. Romania's not in yet, at least not officially.
According to Wikipedia, they are, and that's fact. So that's all I gotta say about that.
Okay, now I'm confused.
Romania is definitely in. I
Yeah,
know
they
that.
were
Is it?
Yeah.
qualified as a playoff winner,
Huh. Okay, so
and even if not, they would.
playoff winner?
Romania would definitely win to
No.
get in. There's not a chance in hell that they would lose to
Exactly.
Spain, and definitely not Germany with what's going on in Germany right now.
Yeah, seriously. Give me a second. I need to look this up now.
Yeah.
Comment.
These won't, for anyone who actually cares about this won't actually be confirmed until I think after the June tests in July.
There's a massive chart. Where's that chart?
Probably just post this later. Yeah.
Yeah, guys, Romania's not in.
All
All
right.
right.
Not
Whatever.
yet.
I find you wrong, but whatever. So
yeah, Romania is definitely in this thing.
yeah. So
Oh yeah,
anyway,
I mean they'll definitely go, but they're not officially.
They're not going through the repechage though. I think all they have to do is like win a. I think
They
they
need
have
to win
take, No, they have to take second in the rec. Because
no, they need to take
No, they
first
have to take-
or second.
Well, they're not gonna. They're not gonna be third.
No,
Come on.
definitely not. Come on, of course.
So
well, anyway, Canada sucks right now. That's what I've been trying to get at. So it's tough for them right now. That's the biggest point I'm trying to take away from this. We'll be able to confirm that in a couple weeks or month or so. Lots more action going on for those sides. So that's all I've got for the game so far this weekend. Victor covered a lot from South America, but the USA game, really looking forward to that. Really looking forward to hopefully seeing a lot of MLR players in there. It's rugby weekend. I will be seeing it on my TV. However, I think Aaron will not be seeing it on his TV.
oh yeah. Earful of Dirt will be on the ground, deployed forward to. I'm not really deployed, but I am going to spend the weekend in Los Angeles, and then find myself in Carson in the mid-afternoon to watch Argentina 15 take on the United States Eagles. So for me, looking back, the Argentina 15, we've tied them twice. And it's like, geez, right? The first year, Their side was mostly a lot of Pumitas, a lot of U20s guys with a few old hands up front. And then last year they brought in a bunch of cap dudes to fill out the side from the guys that they brought up from that previous U20 side. Last year, Argentina 15 lost in a fixture against the Jaguares 14-68. They also played them again 12-31. But I will point out that the Jaguares and this Argentina 15 side are both dealing with injuries. I mean, some of these Argentina 15s guys are Jaguares players, but they're kind of banged up right now. That said, we're like as healthy in the front row as we've been in a long time, and we've got all of our pros that have been the mainstays and have been in the program for a while. They're available. So Blaine Scully got on a plane. He's in camp. He had to lead the Cardiff during the Anglo-Welsh this last weekend, so he's in camp now, and he'll be captaining the side. But we got Titi Lamosatelli. He's healthy. He's available. He's going to be leading that front row with Joe Tafate at hooker, and then you've got Dina Waldron, who's just been cutting it up in the RFU Championship, playing like 40, 50 minutes a game. So, we have our best. We're going to have our best scrum. I mean, we got a little bit of youth in the loose forwards at 6 especially. But you've got Cam Dolan at 8 and then Tony Lamborn at 7, so I'm not really worried about it. And then you bring in the back line. It's as good as it's going to get. I mean, it sucks that AJ's injured, but he'll be back for June. Thank God he didn't tear an ACL and he just broke something. Like Dan, I'm looking for a sweep. I'm looking for Gary Gold to install a system.
Give us the gold.
He's going to evaluate players so that he can get ready this summer and start the March to 2019 World Cup. And, we're positioned right now to sweep with all the best players from Europe available, and then our squad is really deep as well. So Canada's reeling. In order to qualify, they need to get 10 points over Uruguay. And
I mean, I think that it's with the Rugby Today article that actually just came out a day or two ago, or even today, going a lot over Gary Gold. One interesting fact is he actually didn't pick out the squad because he's probably only familiar with Joe Tafate and maybe some other guys.
Durtalo?
Yeah, he's not even – Durtalo's not playing though, is he?
Yeah. No, he's not.
No.
Yeah. So this is definitely going to be a big tester for him, just to figure out more about the squad. He did say that he's definitely going to be watching all the MLR games every single weekend, just like us. So we're just like him. But more importantly, I think that even moving past the ARC, and I don't want to get too far ahead of myself, but having hopefully 2 seasons of MLR before the Rugby World Cup, I'm really looking forward to seeing what can happen. I know it's still a limited amount of time, but to see what Gold can do with living in the country, being with these players, seeing them play professionally, domestically, and then 2 full seasons of a professional. Pro rugby did really wonders for us, and that was only 1 season. And as far as I'm concerned, it was a pretty short season. So be great for next year.
When it comes to the league, I'm not really looking to see what happens in June, because it's about the league finishing, going through rehab, doing everything together, and then so what happens next? Really, what happens in the autumn? What happens in November is what I'm looking to see starting to be the fruits of the first season, and then the fruits of the second season will be, the July internationals in 2019, because the window moves, right? That's that's where it's going to be great.
I think it's really, really great too, is that with the training center being down in Chula Vista, and now we actually have some news from San Diego, which is right next to Chula Vista. It's looking like there's a couple of players they're going to be right near training camp that can, train close to home. Aaron, I think you got some info on that.
So San Diego, Legion. Talks Eagles. Had a phone call with Matt Hawkins, president and general manager, and he got us the info. And Dan, take it.
Yeah, so I mean, I really just said this a second ago, but this announcement alone that they came from confirmed 5 more Eagles. 3 were already confirmed. Ryan Matthias. We have Ryan Matthias, Dylan Audsley, Ben Sema, Mikey Teo, Brett Thompson, Cam Dolan, Nate Augsburger, and Anthony Papura. So it's 8 guys. 3 were already. But we got 5 more guys that confirmed confirmation from the Legion. This is the first actual confirmation of players from them. We've heard rumors of some others out there through other sources, but this is actual confirmed Eagles who, are actually some of my more favorite Eagles playing. But the other thing that I actually realized with reading the announcement was really how much of a benefit, not only for the Eagles, with the fact that San Diego's right there and there can be capped Eagles playing there, makes it very easy for them to come to camp, practice, train with the squad, and as far as I'm concerned, they don't even really have to change their daily routine. They could probably still go to a practice or 2 for San Diego, or at least sit in on, sit on just going over plays and stuff like that. Don't have to move. They don't have to get a hotel, fly halfway across the country. But it's really, other than the beautiful weather, that's probably the top selling point for a lot of potential Eagles or even current Eagles to come. So I think 3 guys came over from Old Blue. I think it was Cam Dolan, Nate Augsburger, and Papura. And honestly, we were going back a lot back and forth a lot on this. And I didn't even think that Cam Dolan or Augsburger would come over from New York. I thought they would stay for a year and come out from the New York side, but clearly San Diego has its benefits. As I said, it's freaking gorgeous there, but it's also a huge benefit to be able to be that close to training camp.
Cam Dolan is, I sort of figured that he was brought over to Old Blue for a reason, and now I guess that reason doesn't exist. Because I figured if there wasn't something going to be happening in New York specifically, he would have found a deal, with an RFU championship side specifically, or even Pro D2. But, I wouldn't be surprised if he stays in San Diego, because guess what? San Diego is more like the New York is. Oh, yeah, it's more like Florida than New York is like Florida. So
that's an important thing you have to actually bring in the word that you're comparing it to, so we don't know what you're talking about there. But yeah, the weather, I really can't go over how much the weather is nicer there than it is here. Like, if you have a chance to go to San Diego, go. Just go. Don't come back.
Dang it like that. Is that my cue, I guess?
Yes, cool. Just go ahead. Just speak.
Okay. Well, guys, so it's first of all really good to have a confirmation of players directly from the team and not from a third party like we've been getting lately. Now, the players that we know of all have a good track record, and I kind of wait to see the rest of the team. Also, really happy, as Dan mentioned, to have a couple of players from All Blue in San Diego, specifically Cam Dolan. Although I would have waited for him to stay here in New York City, but oh well, it's what it is. Aaron.
Thanks. So yeah, we did a lot of work on this, right? It took us about, kind of held on to it. It took us about a week. We're pretty sure of about 3 or 4 more other guys based on multiple, confirmation. But if this is the foundation of San Diego, at least talent-wise, they're going to be one of the stronger teams. I mean, eight guys in the Eagles pool for the ARC. Are you kidding me? Like, that's more than Glendale, right?
Awesome.
Wow.
Like, that's intense.
And it's not even like just 8 fringe players. Like, Cam Dolan played professionally and probably would still be playing professionally if there weren't caps on foreign players. Augsburger was the starting scrum half and fullback. I lost everyone else. Everyone else is good too. Anthony Papura has been playing for years.
Yeah, I mean, it's you look at the side, man. You've got I would say second choice, and top choice domestically available loosehead in Purpura. You know the if Samu Manoa is not available, Cam Dolan is the top choice 8. But even if he is available, Cam needs to be on the field because he's just that talented, But I'm very pleased with what Matt Hawkins has done in CQC.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to hide Cam Dolan in San Diego. Is he 7'10" or something? Hard to get that. But one other point that actually I think is really important too is we have 8 Eagles who are making up the foundation of San Diego. We're not sure what their depth players will look like. However, going back to the point I was saying before, the fact that San Diego is one, such a warm and beautiful place to be in, and 2, it's much closer to the Eagles training camp, that I think that that's going to be really attractive for fringe players or players who really want to get a shot and become a capped Eagle. Let's just say, a recent college grad who just wants to live the life in San Diego and get closer to training camp. I mean, that's a huge draw for them right there. So that's something that I think will really help out a lot. But here we go. Moving on again. Victor, I think you've got some notes to talk about because we have some more announcements about roster coming up in sunny Glendale.
Aaron, you want to take that one, or should I?
Oh yeah. So let's head into Glendale. So Glendale released their roster today, as Victor noted in the email chain before we went live, is that they only have 25 guys. I'm not really concerned per se with this, but the rumored max training squad is 35 because we haven't gotten Nick Benson on an AMA or on a lineout yet to get all the exact details. But it's a pretty strong squad of 25 dudes. It's most of the guys that they had with the Merlins. There's a few guys that aren't, that are just they're gonna play D1, but I think their program has depth in itself because they have a D1, they have a D2, and they have a U20 program. So if they need to bring guys up that know Dave Williams' system, they have them. Victor.
So many of the expected players, of course, are in the squad, guys, such as John Quill, Will McGee, and I told you, Aaron, McGee, not Maggie. See, I told you. Bryce Campbell, Maximo Dachaval, Sean Davis, Zafre Noyo, Seth Halliburton, of course, we already knew from the photo shoot with the jerseys, and Shaq London, who was one of my favorite players in the first ARC. Now, what I'm really surprised is that none of the Georgian players that were in the Raptors were in this team. And I don't know if they brought them straight from Georgia, but the only team that I knew of in USA that had Georgian players, Georgian props, or forwards at least, was Glendale, and none of them made this 25. Now, what I'm thinking is, if a player gets injured, what happens? I mean, I would assume that they will grab someone from the Merlins D1 or one of the kids from the U20s if it's really good. But yeah, I'm just really surprised that they only announced 35 players. But who knows? They may bring the other 10 to make that 35 before the start of the season. Who knows? Dan, go ahead.
I think Josh actually had a good point to follow up on that.
Yeah, my only concern with Glendale is their locks, because outside of Casey Rock and Ben Landry, they don't have anyone above 6'4" on either their D1 or their D2 rosters. I'm not sure about their under 20 roster at the moment. But to Victor's point, the Georgians are on the D1 roster.
Yeah.
Oh, there we go. Thank you.
Yeah, and going with that too, if they're playing a team like Houston, which everyone thinks is going to contend with them just based on their professional subs so far and the fact they have this long season, they're going to contend with them, and they're playing against Houston with, I think, 2 locks that are over 6'8", 6'8". They're giants. So if they get an injury to one of these guys and they have to deal with someone who's 5 or 6 inches shorter, that could be a huge draw right there against Glendale, and that could really mess everything up. I mean, they just gotta hope that there's they have no issues with the locks there. Yeah.
So I think that wraps it up. We're moving fast tonight, guys. So were there playing? Were there player signings this week other than San Diego? I don't.
Just San Diego. Just 8 plus the Raptors. That's 25.
Yeah. Last week it was just San Diego. That's right.
We've got we're doing really well in time. Do you want to go over all 33 players right now? No, not gonna happen,
dude.
No thanks. That's a lot.
We'll be here at 2 in the morning talking about players.
Tweet of the week. Although Dan has one, there was one from Mama Malcolm that I thought might have made it. But Dan, tweet of the week.
This one apparently won out. Actually, also has to do with one of the Malcolms, Pete, obviously our second favorite. Tweet from Austin Elite Rugby. Hashtag quotes. Catch me if you can at Big Pete 8. Thank you for letting us play with you, Huns Youth Rugby. All the credits, USMLR, hashtag everything like that. And there's a great picture there with with Pete running from some of the kids in the youth rugby program, but he's got like the biggest smile on. I definitely go check it out. Pete was actually just a guest on the guy that almost replaced me, Rugby City. He was a guest in Rugby City, so go check it out. Lots of good tidbits in there about the upcoming season, some of the coaches and a lot of their training sessions too. But good luck, Pete. Hope you do well. Hope you do good things down in South America and in California. So we love you. That's all I got to say there. But
and on to our new topic, trending topics. Josh.
Yeah, so this is my fault for not mentioning this earlier, but for Military Appreciation Night, it's all current and former military members get 20% off of tickets. Just show your ID at the box office. And then our other topic was Glendale took a trip. The Glendale coaches took a trip to the UK in early December. They met with the London Irish, the Harlequins, and Bath. They talked about the academy setups, about pay, about structure, about dealing with the rules. All the teams were inquisitive about Glendale's setup and about MLR as a whole. They talked with Bath specifically about an exchange between Raptors Academy players and Bath players to get the Raptors Academy guys training in English Premiership Academy and to get Bath players more match time.
I think this was really awesome. It was an unexpected story for me to see, but just the lengths of what they're doing right now, meeting with quite a few Premiership clubs and really looking into every aspect, academy, training sessions for their pro team, tickets, concessions, comparing their stadiums with us. And I think they also said that Infinity Park, I guess one advantage it has is the fact that it's right in the middle of Glendale, as really built into the actual town, as opposed to a stadium that's 15 miles outside the city just because there's more space. So this is something that's really great, and compares a lot to a lot of these English Premiership clubs where you'd be watching a game and you just see like a church in the background, or you see like the whole town basically in the background. So it brings out that whole aspect, and that's something that they really want to bring in. The fact that their head coach is from England, Dave Williams, also terrific. And at the very end of that article, I mentioned that Dave was actually staying for a little bit longer. I think he was going to meet with some other executives or something like that and just prolong his trip a bit further. So this is just great to see that the professional team is actually really taking these strides to get to the next level.
Yeah, Dan mentioned that Glendale's Infinity Park is in the middle of the city. It really is. You got the fire department, the police department attached to the stadium, and the post office is like right across the street. So that's always good to see. But thanks for reading the website, and we'll have more content as the season gets closer.
So, moving on to views, news, and abuse. So, guys, jump in whenever you desire. So, this is really more news. Dallas held their combine. They had it looked 40. Mike Ford was out there, as well as the entire University of North Texas staff. Based on the photos, I mean, there were only about 10 photos, so it really didn't tell a story. But there was this dude that had a ginormous vert. Get your Glendale season tickets. And apparently Houston beat the brakes off James Bay so bad that they got stuck in Houston last night. But and then like it looks like Rugby United New York's social and website, and they even have a LinkedIn page, is up. That is a rebrand already from Rugby Club New York, although not really a fan of Rugby United New York.
I am.
Really?
Yeah, that's no. Get your Europeanness out.
It's not even like European rugby. That's
European soccer.
Yeah.
I have a problem with Rugby United.
I have a feeling, and this is my theory, that they're going to rebrand again, but they wanted to pick a name and they picked Rugby Club New York, which also happens to be almost the exact same thing as New York Rugby Club. So it caused a lot of confusion. I saw many articles that said that New York Rugby Club was going to become the professional team, and that, I mean, it gave us more exposure that way, and people talked about it in that sense. But the guys from New York probably went to him and said, you know, hey, you should probably change it from RCNY because it's too similar to NYRC. So I think there would be another rebrand. Maybe not the first season, but at least one point in the future, I hope, because Rugby United, the only benefit is that I'm hoping that United by Judas Priest is the theme song, the anthem, but otherwise I got nothing on United.
And also, guys, when you get a chance, those of you listening or watching our YouTube live stream, make sure to check out the RUNY logo, which it mimics the colors of the New York City flag, which are blue, white, and orange. Mostly blue and orange, really, a little bit of white. But it looks very similar to the colors of the New York Knicks or the New York Islanders. Or I think there's another team, too.
Mets.
That someone mentioned. But in any case.
The Mets.
Oh, the New York, man, the Mets. Wow, dude, I'm a Met fan and I forgot that. I'm a horrible Met fan.
You hate baseball. You're not a Met.
But in any case. Yeah, no, but dude, come on, Dominican, bro. Baseball. I should know these things.
Hey, their logo would look a lot better with the colors reversed.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I do agree. I do agree with Josh. I think it looks better blue, orange instead of orange, blue, but it's what it is.
Whenever I see like an orange base and blue color, the Mets do that sometimes, but it's like, it's almost like it's specifically like a summer kind of thing or like a spring training kind of jersey. I really am not the biggest fan of it. It kind of stands out as too loud. But go with the blue, go with a nice, dark blue, and just have some like orange. That's all you need.
Yeah. We'll be done.
I guess I jumped in a little too early there. You guys were still talking, and I just pop up out of nowhere. So sorry about that.
Wow.
Corey Mumsum, everybody.
Hey, how's it going? Show's sounding fantastic, guys. I'm loving the nice, tight format, doing some solid work there. So good work. I'm here because it's time for questions from Bob. Now, I don't know about you guys, but I was thinking about this actually just a little bit ago. We actually haven't had any questions from Bob, the man himself, for a while. And I'm wondering, I mean, did he get lost in the deserts of Utah and just kind of wandered off, or what happened? We kind of miss him. So, Bob, if you're listening, Bob, yeah, hit us up with some questions, man. Maybe the Warriors are just doing such a good job promoting themselves, he doesn't have any questions. I don't know. But we do have some. So let's start us off. I am going to guess this is Suge14. You feel free to correct me.
Let's go with that.
Yeah, Suge14 from our Reddit page. Again, that's reddit.com/r/MLRugby. Suge14 would like to know, how much parity should we expect in the first season of MLR? Should we expect it to get better or worse in 2019 and onward? So I think we're talking the competition itself between the teams. Yeah, that's one I don't think we've really dug into much. So who wants to lead us off there?
Aaron.
2 questions really is what that is. First season, I think, especially since now knowing the foundation of the San Diego team, I think it's going to be pretty decent. Like I think Glendale, well, I might reevaluate my pick of Glendale because they're now only training 2 days a week. I wonder if their training will shift if the teams they face are like going to be a lot tougher. Because 2 days a week is still like club rugby training sessions, to be honest. But in 2019, when there's a possibility of 12 teams, it could drop, because it's going to be harder to fill out the rosters with professional like talent. So
it really depends on how many teams are introduced in 2019, because I don't think the first season will be that bad. They seem to be getting a lot of different talent from different places. Second year, we're looking at most likely New York, Ontario, maybe Vancouver. Dallas keeps saying that they're coming in next year. Chicago apparently said they were before, so anywhere from 3 to 5 or 6 teams. As for New York and the 2 Canadian sides, I think they'll be able to field a team relatively easily without losing too much depth compared to the other teams. But if you start doing Dallas, if you start doing Chicago, I think that's when it's going to really start hitting down, because there's only so many players you can get, unless they have a lot of money and they're able to bring in 5 people, 5 international people. Sorry.
That's actually good thing you mentioned, Dan. But we know the 5 international caps. Could that expand as we get more teams?
I think that it should. I think it should expand to ultimately maybe 10 for game day, depending on how many squads there are. But maybe it can go to 7 for next year. I'm just guessing here.
I think
10 seems like way too many.
I think 8 total on your match day squad is a decent number, because like currently they're saying 5 on match day, which mirrors the USA Rugby rule. So if you go 8, that's 3 more. So you can bring in some like locks and props. But if you look at, I don't know how Canadians are judged, but they've got, what is it, like?
I judge them pretty harshly.
8 Canadian players. So if it's 5, are Canadians judged as just, Canada's going to be in the league next year. So they're just, North U.S. and Canadians, you're good, right?
I think that has to be how it is. It doesn't make sense otherwise.
Let's look at Houston. They're bringing in a lot of Irish guys, and then that plays into what like the captain's run blogger, I forget his name, Antonin Echevarria, I think is the name, stated was like, well, if the player already has a work visa and a green card, they won't be able to, like, the league won't be able to legally stop the guy from working based on U.S. law.
Yeah, and the other thing that's also confusing is when they say a foreign player, what I want to know is, does that just mean anyone who is from outside the country and they have to give them a work visa? Or in the case of someone like Charlie Hewitt, who was brought in, he's uncapped by any country. He was brought in right before the cutoff, so he can, in 3 years, he will be eligible to be a USA Eagle. Does he count as a foreign player in that sense? Because he will in the future have the chance. Or in 3 years, will he count as a foreign player still because of that? So
that's been like a pain in club rugby with teams like, Old Blue. James Bird is a capped Eagle, but somehow, because he doesn't have a U.S. passport, was still considered like foreign.
That makes sense.
Yeah, wild, right? So it just depends. We really are in the Wild West, but I think that they're going to need some extra foreign talent to help this up, and I don't think they're going to go old with that talent either, because we're seeing Houston, they're bringing in young, and they might have a 30, 31-year-old from the islands, but I don't see a lot of European talent coming in at 35.
The other thing too with that is, I remember reading somewhere that Kennedy, being Irish, and in New York especially, had interest in specifically looking to Ireland for some academy players or younger players, but also in the 42, I think that's what it is. That's the Irish News, where Tige Leader, I think that's how you pronounce his name.
Yeah.
I think it's Tige. I had an Irish guy say this.
Tige.
Whatever. So he was the one who's actually saying that he can definitely see a lot of younger Irish guys who didn't make the provincial team. They didn't make Munster or whatever, and that's all they were going for. They didn't care about going anywhere else, and they didn't make it, so they just went back to playing in the All-Ireland League, which is their top-level club. So there's guys who are really talented but aren't going out for professional sides, and they're still young. So someone you can easily take over, and they can come play professionally, and even in someday in the future be capped by Eagles if they really wanted to. But he's just saying that he can definitely see tons of people, especially Irish, where it's sort of a thing for them to come over here in New York and the U.S. and just live here for a bit. That can definitely be the case on that.
So something similar to what happened with AJ, that he came to the States to play and go to school. So again, same thing could happen to a couple of other young Irish players coming here to the States. But going back as to the original question again, how much parity should we expect in this first season? I would assume it should be good, should be quite close. And should we expect it to get better or worse from 2019 onward? I would assume it would get better. But of course, it all depends on the type of talent that you have in each squad. Obviously, you can only have so many cap players in those new teams, and the fact that, of course, those teams are going to be made up mostly of local players plus others coming from other areas of the country and from overseas. I would assume something, again, things would get better in terms of parity. At least those are my expectations. Continue on.
Sounds good. Well, thanks, guys, for your input on that. I and Suge14 appreciate it. Next up, we got one of the better names coming out of Reddit right now. Crypto Manbeard would like to know, and I paraphrased this, FYI, this isn't a direct quote, but this is what he meant to say. Why aren't teams putting their preseason matches on Twitch or YouTube right now?
Who knows?
So Nola's is on Facebook, Gift Time Rugby. I'm pretty sure that since the preseason doesn't fall under any TV things, the preseason fixtures that are at Glendale will go on the Infinity Park feed, and they spend about like $30,000 on a production, so it's going to be pretty high quality. I don't know. I know that for one, Uruguay requested that there be no match film made available for the Houston one. I know that Grant Cole is talking to him about this, so
it'd be interesting to see, even if they don't get all the games at Constellation Field for Houston, if they could at least get the ones where they're playing against other MLR teams. I think that would be good just to get something.
So Gift Time is broadcasting Sabercats at NOLA Gold.
Yes.
Preseason in March.
So we will see at least two teams playing, guaranteed. But other than that, I mean, I wish that they did have more of a formal structure for some of this. I understand that it's kind of on their own to do these things and pick out these games, but like we're just kind of learning about some other preseason matches for Utah and Glendale and stuff like that. I'm still confused and I forget exactly who's hosting who and who's doing what and what day it is. And they just finally put it on the website, except for I think the Houston matches. So it would have been nice if there was more of a concise structure that you could see. Here are all the games, and at least mention that it's not going to be telecast or televised, because a lot of people were asking for streaming.
By the way, so far, guys, the only game from MLR that is on YouTube is actually the NOLA Gold Capital Selects one. So hopefully other games will go to the platform as the league goes along. That's for everyone else who does not know that, by the way. By the way, he also mentioned Twitch. Twitch is for video games, so it would really work for rugby anyway. So if it's a platform, it's only going to be YouTube or Facebook video. By the way, going back to Glendale real quick, since we were talking about the official roster, as I was reading through the article, I also noticed that they did mention about the games being broadcast on CBS Sports. Well, the home games are going to be broadcast through AT&T Sports, which I didn't even know AT&T had a sports channel.
Oh yeah, so every team. So James Kennedy made this aware in his interview. Every team has a local broadcast deal. So if you're in that market, you get to watch those home games through a local cable provider. So
Spectrum Sports or something like that. Like you get to watch them.
It's like the Fox Sports regional channels.
Yeah. So you get to watch them through there, and it's still like a local channel. That's why I love the interviews with James. He just talks. He knows what he wants to say. He just says it, and that's that.
Well, he went onto his tablet to make sure he was like saying the right thing.
Yeah. So he wasn't just saying things that he knew he shouldn't say. He was checking it first to make sure that it was kosher.
So, Corey, you've got another question.
Yeah, I got one more for you guys. That was really interesting, though. Thanks. So this one is more of a statement, and I'd just kind of like to have your reaction to it. So this is the last one for the night. So Liam Zarugger wants to know, looking at the San Diego roster, it's definitely not short on talent, which we've talked about already tonight. But I'm afraid what the lack of advertising is going to do to crowd turnout, and I'm assuming when we're talking, especially when the regular season gets here. So are you guys concerned about this?
Yes and no. Yes, for obvious reasons. There's very little advertising, and I am afraid that it may turn off some people from treating it like a professional team, because they're hearing that there is a team and just hearing nothing about it for so long. Now we have players, so that is a bit of a different story. But I also say no at the same time because, when pro came around, San Diego really got into it. They really got into the rugby. If I'm not mistaken, they had some of the larger crowds, or it could be okay. So they had some of the larger crowds. I don't really remember much or any advertising at all. I'm not in San Diego, so I wouldn't necessarily know. But from what I know, they didn't really advertise that much. They still got lots of fans that came out. San Diego's a bit of a hub for that, and I'm really hoping they can do something with the naval base nearby or something like that, really get everyone involved and make it that community feel. So long story short, yes, I think it will affect it, but no, I think they'll still be fine, at least for the first season.
Yeah. Corey,
the only thing I was going to say about that.
You work in a place where you have to sell ads.
Yeah.
Right?
I do. And I don't personally have to sell ads, but we do have people that sell ads for us. And that's obviously one of the concerns when you're looking at building, needing money to run a team. But what I will say about San Diego is they have been fantastically open and supportive of rugby. And you just have to look at what they did for the Breakers here a couple years ago. And a lot of those fans have now come over and switched sides and are fully leaning into the Legion. So that's encouraging. So I think San Diego is one of the few places in the country where that's not quite as steep of a hill to climb. I mean, it's a rugby smart city, in my opinion. So where Houston had to do, I felt like they've excelled at doing a lot of education. I think it was more needed there, where in San Diego, maybe they'll get away with not having as much education necessary.
I think the education was just free marketing, to be honest. It's like, hey, new sports team, let's do rugby laws. Hey, guess what? It's just a free air channel, so they give you 5 minutes to talk about rugby, and that channel reaches the whole metro. And
yeah, Facebook videos for those got like 3,000 watches, 3,000 views each. That's easy to get that.
And like that's I mean, I guess we can talk about media complaints later on because Corey has one. So, but yeah, I think this is what I know. So let's look at Houston's social reach right now, right? They've got 21,000 Facebook likes. They have outstripped Glendale and outstripped like the league itself. Right now, San Diego Legion is sitting around 800. So that if you're going to just use your platform to push your message and not use and like not go to the papers or anything, currently they only can like without it being shared and you liking it so that it shows up on your feed, they can only reach 800 people. And all of us are one of those likes.
-5.
So,
yeah, because we actually we have it's pretty interesting to look at. We have one of our Redditors, Aggie Rugger, I think his name is Nick. He actually tracks all the social media for Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook, and he makes a chart every single month, just updating us on where everything is. Houston took a huge jump after they played Seattle and Vancouver, but it's really interesting to see that Houston has 21,000 Facebook likes. I think MLR has 15,000. Everyone after that has 11,000 or less. So it's a huge difference. However, Houston's Twitter page actually it's probably middle of the pack for all the others. So it's really interesting to see that just having the content, just from preseason so far, but having the content, showing videos, showing things that are going on, the rugby laws, everything like that, that makes a big difference when it comes to something like Facebook or Instagram where people interact that way, where maybe Twitter doesn't make as much sense, but Twitter's great for score updates or something like that. So I'd really love to see what will happen to all the other Facebook accounts once the league starts off and there's actual content for them to share, post on Facebook, and get people involved. I think that'll be really, really great to follow that.
What about you, Victor?
Anybody else have any thoughts on that one?
No, I was good, guys.
Okay.
No worries.
All right. So moving into final thoughts. I've got one, then Corey has one, and then Victor will take you home. So Matt Simons on his website, he is a lock with London Wasps, wrote about the MLR. And I think it's very important to take note of this. He's saying a lot of senior premiership players are paying attention because they may want to come play here in the future. But he's also saying, looking at the opportunity for younger academy guys that may not make it, that are really good players, but that just get stuck in the system. And, the one I can look at there is Charlie Hewitt. He's 6'8", was the England U19 captain. You're looking at a 4 or 5 star recruit who gets stuck because there's a million locks in the England system. And then there's a million locks in the Worcester system because there was a dude that was 6'9" that was in the academy right behind him. So it's nice to see that the players are now paying attention to what is coming. Dan.
Yeah, so I actually just looked up the actual jump from the end of December of 2017 to January. January is obviously when Houston had their matches. They went from 10,000 Facebook likes to about 21,000 in a period of 2 or 3 weeks. So that's just to show you that how big of a jump that made. That's all I gotta say.
That's really interesting. So my quick final thought for the night is I tweeted about this a few weeks ago, so I just kind of wanted to follow up because there's another prime example of what I've been talking about today. I really appreciate the amount of overseas news coverage, or not even overseas, but international news coverage that Major League Rugby has received. So published today was a story from the Canadian News Service, which was also picked up by CBC, a Canadian broadcast company, about the amount of Canadians in the Seattle on the Seattle team, which is awesome. And then there's, of course, The Guardian out of England has done some fantastic coverage, including just a week or two ago. They had a really nice write-up on, I believe it was the Houston-Uruguay match. These things are really exciting to get this attention. And, kind of like that blog post that Aaron was talking about, it's talking about attention being paid overseas. But we need to get homegrown coverage too. Why isn't ESPN talking about this? Why isn't ABC News talking about this? At least one freaking story on their website. I'm not even talking about nightly news or anything like this, Good Morning America. It doesn't have to be anything that big, but this is something pretty important that's happening in this country. It's going to change, it's going to be an addition, if not change the face of professional sports in America, and in two countries, frankly, in America and Canada. But it's blackout, other than some locals channels and some local publications talking about it. So I guess I'm just frustrated with the lack of buy-in from media outlets in our country. And I think that's something that needs to change. So I'll go ahead and step down from my soapbox. I don't know if anybody had any reactions to that. You feel free to comment. Otherwise, Victor, we'll let you take us home, man.
Go ahead, Josh, before I jump in.
Well, I guess branching off of Corey's topic about media, we're doing our best. We had an article a couple weeks ago about our way too early MLR predictions, season standing predictions, and hopefully this week we'll get out with another. Go ahead, Victor.
Awesome. Now, real quick, going back with what Corey was mentioning, I agree. By the way, Corey, with the point that you made, how I don't know how come we're not getting any promotion from. Well, promotion is not the word, or any reactions of the league from major sports outlets like ESPN, which is definitely one of the main ones. NBC Sports, I don't think has to mention anything of it, and just like ESPN, they also carry rugby. So I don't know. I really do not know how come we're not really getting a lot of mentions of Major League Rugby from media outlets here in the United States. Who knows? Maybe as the season goes on, maybe, or probably by next year when things have been established. But I don't know. Really, I'm super confused on that, but I do hope that they're coming soon. Yeah, go ahead, Dan.
No, I think it'll happen. I mean, we're saying why isn't ESPN talking about this right now? It's well, first of all, a lot of people don't have a dedicated, I guess, rugby journalist. It's not like there's a new semi-pro football league that's coming out, or a professional football league or something like that. So first of all, they don't really have dedicated rugby journalists to follow it. Second of all, even if they did, maybe they just didn't hear about Major League Rugby. I mean, it's still new. The season hasn't started yet. People have found it if they happen to be in a certain area. But what actually did happen, local radio broadcasts from ESPN, which is not technically the same. They do cover it for Houston. For I think Glendale, they get a lot of local media that may be backed by a larger, larger ESPN or CBS or something like that broadcaster. Hopefully, CBS will really do a lot, and they don't have to hire someone specifically just to cover this, but even just get like a freelance guy, have them talk about Major League Rugby, or have them just talk about rugby in general. I mean, they're showing this, so it's in their best interest to have at least one article a week once the season actually starts. That's the issue I would have if they don't do something like that.
Yeah. Well, thanks, guys. I appreciate the support on that. And you're right, Josh. What we're doing with the website and what a lot of other website-based blogs and news outlets are doing is important and valuable, and it's all we got right now. So we're going to keep carrying that torch for the league, and we're going to keep writing about it. And that's one of the reasons we launched earfulofdirt.com, was so we could bring folks that high-quality journalistic content. So, yeah. We'll just keep doing what we're doing and let everybody else figure out their own shit. I can swear after 10 o'clock, right? All right, Victor?
Yeah, you can, sir. That you can.
Take us home, man.
Beautiful, guys. So, you got it. Well, guys, with all of that said, we have come to an end of another beautiful episode of Earful of Dirt. Keep in mind, make sure to subscribe to our channel called Earful of Dirt. That's at YouTube, Earful of Dirt Podcast. Make sure to also like us, on our social media platforms such as Facebook, Earful of Dirt, on Twitter at Earful of Dirt. Same thing on Instagram, posting pictures every day. That's my round, by the way. Speaking of Instagram, a quick shout out to Ryan Matias for a correction on a post that I put. I actually messed up his height. I put he was 5'1" instead of 6'1". So again, Ryan, thank you for the correction there, and shout outs to you. Also, guys, make sure to check out our website, of course, earfulofdirt.com. If you have not done so already, make sure to subscribe. Well, not really subscribe, but make sure to add us to your feed on iTunes, Acast, Google Play, Stitcher, Player FM, and make sure to leave us a review. By the way, if the review is going to be less than 5 stars, please make sure that is constructive criticism, please. Thank you very much. You know who you are. And also, guys, make sure to call us at our phone number, which is 1-720-600-2679. And, of course, make sure to drop us a voicemail there. And, of course, make sure to join us on our live broadcast at 10 p.m. Eastern. 10 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Pacific time. And with all that, guys, like I said, my name is Victor. That was Corey. That was Aaron. That was Dan. That was Josh. And we will see you next week. Thank you for listening.
Good night, guys.